There was once a martial art that wasn't born in temples, nor in tournaments, nor under spotlights. It was born in the shadows, in dead-end alleys, in invaded fields, in fishing villages, where people had nothing left to lose. It was a karate that didn't seek harmony, only survival, and when you practiced it, you didn't become elegant. You became indestructible. That art was Goju-Ryu, the style that came from hell. And what you're about to hear isn't a story of meditation or balance. It's a story of blood, sweat, and a spirit forged in ashes. Today we're going to unearth the dark origin of a karate, forgotten by many, feared by others, and revered by those who know its truth. Martial might, where warriors live forever. Goju-Ryu, the school of the hard fist and fire breathing. It all began in Okinawa, a small island located between China and Japan. No army, no king, just farmers, sailors, artisans, humble people with fierce will. For centuries, Okinawa was invaded, looted, trampled, first by Japan, then by China, then by both. Weapons were banned, resistance crushed. But something survived, the body and the will. The peasants began training in secret, at night, in rice fields, in damp caves, in windowless basements. They imitated animals, studied the Chinese, hardened their knuckles against stone, breathed like dragons, and struck like storms. That's how Nahate was born, a raw, dense combat style that blended southern Chinese movements with Okinawa's resilient essence. Its stance was low, solid, rooted, no flashy moves, just core control, tense breathing, and a precise explosion when needed. Unlike other styles, Nahate didn't prioritize speed or wide footwork. It focused on internal strength, the development of the tanden, the energy center below the navel, and the ability to absorb pain without losing control. It was more a forging than an art, more mental training than technical. And from that relentless core, a name emerged, Chojun Miyagi. He wasn't the strongest, nor the fastest, but he had something deadlier, an unbreakable obsession. He traveled to China seeking wisdom, lived in monasteries, fought in back alleys, learned from monks, underground fighters, styles that weren't taught. They were survived. The styles he studied in China included Pai Hawk, White Crane style, and Southern boxing techniques, with their rooted stances, solid blocks, and explosive strikes. Miyagi understood that true effectiveness wasn't in form, but in intention, and what he brought back to Okinawa wasn't peace. It was fire, the fire of a breath that breaks your chest, the fire of a strike that doesn't aim for points, but bones. When he returned, he founded Goju-Ryu, the hard and soft style. But don't be fooled. Soft is not weakness. It's sensitivity. It's the bamboo that bends but doesn't break. Hard is the hammer. Soft is the whip. And together, they are the storm. The concept of hard and soft isn't a contradiction. It's a vital synthesis. Strike with impact, flow with intelligence, read your opponent's energy, and respond like a wild animal. Training wasn't routine. It was trial, punishment, transformation. Everything began with the Kata Sanchin. 3 steps, an internal war, forced breathing, total muscle tension, hours holding the posture while partners struck the body, abdomen, ribs, arms, legs, without mercy, not to hurt you, but to ignite the steel sleeping within. Many instructors performed this kata in total darkness, guided only by breath and body heat. The idea was to cancel unnecessary senses and sharpen primal instincts. Technique shouldn't come from the head, but from the gut. The body became stone, the mind a blade, the soul, a contained volcano. Then came conditioning, striking poles until bleeding, lifting buckets of sand with the fingers, training barefoot on gravel, holding impossible stances, doing kata blindfolded. And when you thought you couldn't go on, that's when the real training began. Applications, the part with no rules. Goju-Ryu wasn't trained for show. It was trained for survival. In combat, the goal was clear. Take down in seconds, break ribs, crush the opponent's will. It wasn't pretty. It was necessary. It was war without weapons. It said Miyagi trained as if every day were his last. And in his native Okinawa, sometimes it was. Young men didn't train for medals. They trained because death could be around any corner. Goju-Ryu wasn't a sport. It was a path of fire. It made you dangerous, and it cut you off from the world, because those who mastered it weren't seen as artists. They were seen as beasts. For years, his style lived in the shadows, until, after World War II, American soldiers witnessed its brutal effectiveness. They began training in secret, and Goju-Ryu crossed the ocean. Many of those soldiers, upon returning home, shared what they knew. But something was lost, because Goju-Ryu is not passed on through techniques alone. It's passed through pain. And in the West, not everyone was willing to endure it. Not as a performance art, but as a silent warning. Even then, many rejected it. Too aggressive, too dirty, too real. Masters of more formal styles saw it as vulgar, without elegance, without spirit. They didn't understand that behind every fist, there was a story of pain, of hunger, of resistance. Each Goju-Ryu technique wasn't born on pristine tatami mats. It was born on hostile soil, where a single mistake meant the end. Even the kata weren't choreographies. They were rituals of memory. Every step, every turn, every breath recalls a fracture, a choke, a death. And breathing was the most brutal part. In Sanchin, breathing is not aesthetic. It's a compressed roar, a pressure cooker in your belly, an internal ignition that turns the practitioner into something no longer fully human. When you see someone taking blows during Sanchin without moving, you know you're looking at a tempered warrior, someone who no longer trembles, someone who has died and returned from hell. That breathing doesn't just strengthen the body, it strengthens the mind. It conquers fear, it regulates the nervous system, it activates inner energy, and it allows that, in the middle of chaos, there's a core of unshakable calm. Today, many try to soften Goju-Ryu, make it digestible, for kids, for tournaments, for Instagram selfies, but the real dojos still exist. In Okinawa, in basements with no mirrors, in gyms with cracked floors, where the walls smell of ancient sweat, and every step echoes like a war drum. There, they train like before, with bricks, with darkness, with pain, kata in the dark, push-ups on rocks, breaths that shake the soul, strikes that don't teach. They reveal, because in a world where all styles strive to be beautiful, Goju-Ryu strives to be true. And the truth isn't always beautiful. It's harsh, it's ugly, but it's real. Not everyone survives the training. Some break, others vanish, but those who remain come back changed, with empty eyes, a quiet spirit, and fists full of memory. Because training Goju-Ryu means carrying your people's history. It means embodying the pain of generations. It means becoming a living echo of the purest resistance. This style isn't taught with words. It's passed on with scars, with discipline, with blood and respect. And if you ever enter a true Goju-Ryu dojo, don't expect applause. or warm welcomes, just silence, and a stare that says, "Are you going to stay?" Because that place is not for everyone. It's for those willing to break, to become unbreakable. That is the hell from which Goju-Ryu was born. And now, you decide whether to cross it or keep watching from the outside.